The worst part of going on vacation is not being around for all these updates, so let's round it up. Hello everyone, welcome back. I am the One-Eyed Crow, and I'm back from a much-needed vacation. The kids had a great time, but you're not here to talk about them, so who cares? I care. Before we begin, I'd like to point out that we're close to 80 subscribers away from our next giveaway, and for this giveaway, it's going to be a Nightfall spellbook, and if we can hit 500 before the end of May, I'll throw in something a little extra in there as well. So please, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, YouTube tells me that about half of you that watch these videos aren't actually subscribed. Alright, so as we look to May 2nd, which was the first day I was on vacation, there were a ton of updates, which really raised my anxiety. The first one that morning was about the Rat King. The applications for the Rat King cards are currently being processed, and MetaZoo Games is sifting through all of our photoshopped pictures of us with the billboard to then figure out which ones are eligible for the Rat King promotion. Now the interesting thing here is how this was portrayed in the announcement. It specifically said treasure hunt. So this is our first real clue that the Rat King was really a prototype of the treasure hunts that we're going to be seeing in May and June. And from my understanding of these treasure hunts, they're going to be available in every state. So I'm really excited to see what this looks like for every state. And I do have some concerns about states like Vermont that does not allow billboards in the state. So how are they going to participate? And then my other concern would be for very large states. And New York in itself is a pretty large state. And to have the Rat King available in New York City in Times Square, you know, a good portion of New Yorkers aren't actually going to participate in that. I'm actually closer to New York City than, say, Buffalo is. So hopefully the distribution of these treasure hunts is close enough to most people where they can participate, or at least go to another state to participate in their treasure hunt. Also on May 2nd, we got to look at a prototype card for Basan, which is a fire-breathing chicken. And Mike had said that this Basan card had originally been meant for the yokai block. So I imagine that when yokai releases, whenever it does, we're actually going to be seeing this card in its true MetaZoo form. Now, as part of this announcement, Mike had also said that Cryptid Nation was meant to be a 350 to 500 card block. And we all know already that the Cryptid Nation block does not mean Cryptid Nation base set, but that includes Cryptid Nation, Nightfall, Wilderness, UFO, Seance, and all the mini sets in between, and more beyond that. And if we look at the sets that we already have, Cryptid Nation base set, Nightfall, and Wilderness, those sets alone, when you don't count the duplication of CN2 and Kickstarter, put us close to 500 cards. And when you add UFO in, it's closer to 660 cards. So already we're beyond that Cryptid Nation block that was originally anticipated. Now another small update on that day, we got a look at a foam bust with what looks like Sam Sinclair cosplay hair on it. I don't quite know what this means. It could just be something that Texas Ted was working on, but it's interesting nonetheless. Maybe we're going to see some Sam Sinclair cosplay. Yet another update for May 2nd was how many people had, at that time, qualified for the Casters Cup. And on May 2nd, they were at over 250 qualifiers. Now this is interesting because the way to qualify is quite easy. You just need to go to a sanctioned event with a metazoologist and play. So this basically means that there's, at that time, 250 active players, and those people have qualified for the Casters Cup, whether or not they're actually going to show up to Dallas-Fort Worth or not. And I expect that number is going to be much higher by the time that we actually get to Dallas-Fort Worth. It's already been 4 days since that announcement, and then the registration is going to go until May 22nd. So there's still basically 2 more weeks' time for people to qualify and be ready to be registered for the tournament. Alongside that announcement, it's really not related. We got to look at the UFO Blister Pack Art. And what we see here is an alien and a UFO beaming up some cryptids. Among that, we can see a Western-themed T-Rex getting beamed up, as well as some other cryptids, one of which has some springy-looking legs. I'm not quite sure what the 3 other cryptids are in this art, but we're going to find that out when we get to UFO. Not long after that announcement, Mike had said that the participants in the Casters Cup tournament are going to get a special holofoil badge. And these badges are actually going to be PSA gradable. Now, these look a little bit larger than your standard card, and it's unclear if they're going to give you any type of protection for that badge when you show up. So if you do plan to get this graded with PSA and you want to be careful with it for the entire weekend, I'd suggest trying to figure out what size that badge is and getting your own protector just to be ready for that when you get there. Now, as we move on to May 3rd, we got to look at a large Whatnot logo. And for those of you that don't know what Whatnot is, it's essentially a live auction site. So people that want to sell their product, that want to auction it off, in this case, MetaZoo, they create an account with Whatnot and get approved to be a Whatnot seller. And there's a lot of great streamers on Whatnot. When I'm searching for singles to build out my set, I actually typically look to Whatnot for that. And I've been part of the Whatnot community for some time now, and I've seen the MetaZoo community grow from a few streamers to now so many streamers that I don't recognize half of them at any given time. So it's really booming. Now, I would suggest that you check out Whatnot for yourself. There is a link in the description below, and if you use that link, you'll get $10 to use on Whatnot. And once you've used that $10, I'll also get $10 to use on Whatnot. So it benefits both of us there, and worst case, you buy a couple packs or a couple singles, you decide you don't like it, you support the channel, and you move on. Not long after that, on May 3rd, we got to look at the poker chip art. And what's interesting here is there's only 10 poker chips in the set, and there's 12 in the image. So what I think we're seeing here is the 10 chips for the poker set for the Kickstarter, and then 2 extra chips, one for archcasters and one for headcasters. And I imagine that's going to be the gold and silver ink chips that we see in the middle there. On Facebook on May 3rd, it was announced that Steve Aoki is going to actually be on the cover of Adweek and have an editorial there. And this is exciting because it's yet another major news outlet that MetaZoo is going to be part of. Only a few weeks ago, there was a Polygon post, and I've been following Polygon for gaming updates for years now. So to see MetaZoo mentioned in a Polygon article was actually really exciting for me then as well. And with the Adweek article, we're getting a completely new set of readers that are then going to learn about MetaZoo. So I'm really excited for that exposure. I'm really excited for the attention that MetaZoo is getting from bigger media outlets. And the last update for May 3rd, we got to look at this red Cryptid Nation-based Etched Box. And the announcement simply said, any guesses? And your guess is as good as mine here, but a lot of the theories are around it being related to either the Target box or the poker chip box. This box seemed very Cryptid Nation based. So, it could be related to the Kickstarter for the Cryptid Nation card set. We're going to find out. On May 4th, it was confirmed that the new Walmart boxes with the Dragon of Akanto Falls promo will be releasing this month. And Mike had also touched on the mystery boxes that are showing up in Walmarts this week with 3 MetaZoo packs in them, and this can be CN1, CN2, or Nightfall. I went to my local Walmart, I couldn't find any, which is a bit of a bummer, and one of the interesting things is today I actually saw a post on Facebook of somebody finding a CN1 box topper in them. So not only is Cryptid Nation First Edition part of this, the box topper from First Edition can also be a part of it as well. So if you're interested in the mystery packs, those are $15. You should be able to find them at Walmart, if you're lucky. A little bit later on May 4th, there was an announcement that, hey, we heard you. Those lines at Collecticon were pretty long. And what's MetaZoo's answer to long lines at Collecticon? Loveland Frogman themed water. Of course. So for Dallas-Fort Worth, they're going to be giving out bottles of water that are MetaZoo themed. Now this is great for you if you're thirsty, but honestly, how many of you are actually going to drink the water instead of reselling it on eBay? On May 5th, we got to look at the Faded Spade Kickstarter promos. This is the first time that we're actually seeing them in their holo form. So we can see the Cryptid Nation, Nightfall, and Wilderness playing poker promos. And we also got to look at the Archcaster Poker Night promo. And from this image, they actually decided not to show us the Headcaster promo for whatever reason. And now that we're getting a look at these, and we can actually see that the World Poker Tour promo cards are printing, I imagine we're going to start seeing the full uncut sheet soon as well. On May 5th, they showed a picture of an uncut sheet with the ambassador cards on it. So these are starting to move forward. They're starting to be printed. There's still no real word on how these are going to be distributed yet. And I'm really hoping for some information on this soon, because this is really one of the first events that includes a distribution to the world. And that's not to say MetaZoo doesn't have distributors around the world, it's just that the Cryptid Nation block has been very specific to the US. And with this set, they're actually focusing on other countries. Now, an interesting part of this picture is they did show the Headcaster promos, and those are at the bottom there next to the Spookalala promos. And pretty soon after that, they showed us another image of the box toppers for the eBay Wilderness release. In this image, we can see the Spiderling token, the Smooze token, the Stained Glass token, and then on either side, looks like we have a Dark token and a Water token. And we're still quite a way away from actually receiving those in hand, about a month and a half away from that. Jumping forward to May 6th, we start to get some UFO spoilers. The first of which is the Light Aura. And the Light Aura for UFO depicts a UFO spewing out rainbow light, of course. Now, the interesting thing about this drop here is that it confirms that UFO set size is 165 cards, and it also confirms the set symbol. Alongside that card, they also dropped a teaser of the top of the Robo Flowers card, and this is a forest cryptid based out of Florida. Judging by the aura cost, the spellbook limit, and the life points that we can see there, it's either 1 or in the 10s or teens. This is going to be a card that's basically cannon fodder. For all our NFT holders out there, on May 6th, we got to look at the NFT cards. And something interesting here is that these are the next set of serialized cards. So what we can make out from the image here is that the Flying Manta Ray is 1 out of 111, the Silver Party token is 1 out of 750, the Black Bat token is 1 out of 169, the Gold Mothy is 1 out of 100, and the Silver Mothy is 1 out of 200. Now, the big announcement from May 6th, Target. It was finally announced what the Target promo is going to be, and it's something that we have grown up with our entire lives, Smokey the Bear. And what's interesting is the wording on the announcement saying that it's the first Smokey the Bear promo. So should we expect more in the future? Now, there's still no official date on the Target release, just coming soon. But all I can say for this is that Smokey the Bear better destroy fire decks. Also on May 6th was yet another busy day for MetaZoo updates. We got a look at MetaZoo wallpapers. Now, I'm not going to lie, I don't remember the last time that I replaced my wallpaper on my computer, but hey, maybe it's time. Now, personally, I love the graffiti layout of this wallpaper that they teased, and I think this is a great way for graphic artists to participate in the MetaZoo ecosystem. MetaZoo's been very open that they don't want to move away from the hand-drawn format for their cards, but if they opened up the wallpapers to digital artists, this could be a new outlet to get more people involved in MetaZoo art. Now, on May 6th, we got the details for the Caster's Cup, but before we talk about that, I just want to remind everyone that we're doing a fan art giveaway right now. And to participate in the giveaway, all you need to do is design a logo for this channel, post it to Instagram, tagging @_the-one-eyed-crow_. The submission phase ends on May 11th at noon Eastern time, and then we will begin a voting phase. And the top 5 logos with the most likes will win prizes. Now, those prizes are sponsored in part by Immortal Workshop, and for first place, you win a Wilderness Booster Box, a Fan Art Blister Pack, and a bookmark. For second place, you win a Wilderness Spellbook, a Fan Art Blister Pack, and a bookmark. For third place, you win a spellbook and a bookmark. And for fourth and fifth place, you win a Wilderness Blister Pack and a bookmark. 5 participants will be selected randomly to also win a theme deck from Wilderness. As of right now, we only have 6 entries, so your chances of winning right now are pretty high. Now, one of the questions that I have gotten from a few people is, well, what if I don't have Instagram or don't want Instagram? And the answer to that is to just simply ping me on Discord, give me the art that you want to submit, and I will upload it myself with attribution to you. But my recommendation is that unless you have a very specific reason why you don't want to have Instagram, is to just create that simple dummy account, upload it yourself, and that way you can participate in the voting as well. And at the end of the day, Facebook owns Instagram, so if you already have a Facebook, creating an Instagram account is actually pretty painless because it's all interconnected. With that said, I completely understand that people do not want to have an Instagram account or a Facebook account. So again, please reach out to me on Discord if that's the route you want to go. All right, so the Caster's Cup. Now, the first thing to note when building your decks is that with the exception of red ink and the hollow auras, All of your Cryptid Nation base set cards need to be 2nd edition, and this is due to the changes between the print runs. Now, the big takeaways from reading the documentation that they provided on the Caster Cup is that there's going to be 2 formats. On day 1, they're going to do constructed format, and on day 2, they're going to do blitz. If you're under 18, you will need a permission slip from your parents that has to be signed and notarized, and you need to bring it with you to the competition. So if you're under 18, make sure you do that. And the registration for the Casters Cup is going to be between May 13th and the 22nd. The 22nd is your last day to qualify for the Casters Cup. So if you're expecting to participate and you haven't yet qualified, you have basically 2 more weeks to do so. Now for day 1, we have the Blitz format, and that's going to be best of 3 with a 50-minute limit, Swiss pairings, 8 rounds max, and the top 32 go on to day 2 to participate in the Blitz. And the Blitz is going to be best of 3 with a 50-minute limit, and Swiss pairings with 5 rounds. And the last update that they dropped on the 6th was another UFO spoiler of the new Prism Aura. Now this card for UFO is called Neutrality Totality Aura, and you can see the rainbow icon in the top right. That's the same icon, or the special aura icon, that Prism Aura had. So will this card do the same exact thing that Prism Aura does? Well, I hope not, because then it would just be essentially a reprint. So I'm kind of excited to see what the Neutrality Totality Aura does, and this is going to be most likely our chase card for UFO, just like Prism Aura is for Wilderness. On May 7th, MetaZoo announced that they're reserving the right to use banned player lists from other games like Pokemon or Magic the Gathering for MetaZoo, which is probably a smart move, to be honest. You have these other games that already have identified players that have been bad actors, and MetaZoo's basically saying, well, why reinvent the wheel? They've already identified these players as people who have cheated or found loopholes or whatnot to get banned. We're just going to use that list as well and get ahead of the game. And yes, this does potentially have an issue where a player could have been banned in one game, learned their lesson, is now a good apple, and then can't participate in MetaZoo. Hopefully there's a way to repeal, but we'll have to see what happens there. We got to look at a new Gumbaroo card for Wilderness. In the bottom right-hand corner, you can see that this card, very faintly, true MetaZoo fashion, they took a very grainy photo. It looks like it's out of 5 cards, so this has something to do with a mini set. And there's a set symbol in the bottom left, but it's really hard to figure out what that could be. If you recognize it, please let me know in the comments below. And just after that, they announced the Gumbaroo King emoji, so it could be related to maybe Burger King or maybe even the poker cards, since those have king cards as well. And the supporting evidence for it being related to the poker cards is 2 minutes after that. They gave us a preview of what the promo cards for the Kickstarter are going to look like. So if you remember, at certain tiers, you actually get a box of promo cards. I believe it's 10 cards in a box if I'm remembering correctly. And these were very limited. You got 1 box for certain pledge tiers, and then I believe the only other way you could get a second box was if you got the poker chips. And then about an hour after that, we got another look at this pixelated UFO image that they've used before, this time with a blue galactic kind of background. We have stars, we have meteoroids, galaxies, a UFO. And what I think is being teased here is actually the holo design for the UFO set. So I expect that in the holo pattern, we're going to be seeing these meteorites and UFOs and stars spread throughout the holo pattern. And the last update was from Chaos Crystal Enthusiast on May 7th, and this was a blackened out silhouette of lightning in a bottle. And the heading for that announcement read, "See you in Dallas." So I imagine that the people in Dallas are going to be getting a lightning in a bottle promo, which is great because, from my research anyway, that's one of the most used cards in MetaZoo decks. Now for the MetaZoo Hour this week, it took place on May 4th. I wish I could say that there's something I actually wanted to highlight, but there really just wasn't. And this is the first time I've come across this in a MetaZoo Hour. A lot of the topics that were discussed, we've either already know about or had little to no significance, in my opinion. But if you want to check that out for yourself, I would suggest going to MetaZooHQ.com and go to the MetaZoo Hour section. I'll put a link in the description below for that. Just because I didn't identify something as significant for the channel doesn't mean there's not interesting information for you there. Well, that's all I had to talk about for this week's update from April 30th to May 7th. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.